a sermon, right? Oh, I don't think I'm on. Do it. Am I on?
No.
How about now?
Are you holding it now?
How about now? This is your lifetime. Oh, that's very loud. This is your lifetime. It could end at any time. How many people want to entertain that thought? Anybody here come close to that? Yeah, I have too. And in fact, that was sort of launched me in, I think, a deeper commitment to this work, or to this mission. The mission is, we say it every Sunday, there's only one presence and one power in the universe, and the Spirit of the Divine lives in us as us. And it's just lovely words. Or it's more than that. Or it's an invitation for us to experience the truth of that in this lifetime. After that experience I had, which was 5 years ago, and I came close to checking out of this body, and I suffered a lot through the recovery process of it. And I realized that in the course of that recovery time, that I was highly connected to an identity, a form of my body. And I committed at that point that I would spend whatever time I had left on this planet to getting to know this truth as a reality, not as a concept, not as an affirmation, but a direct knowing of the truth of my being. And I stand here in front of you saying, I can't think of anything more important. In fact, to say that is to say, no matter what it asks of me, because life can involve a lot of suffering. Has anyone noticed? Trials, tribulations, anyone? And I think sometimes we have the mistaken belief that if we're on the right path, this is going to be easy street, you know? That the God will just, open or the universe, whatever, will open a path and it'll just be clear sailing. And we equate that with being, online with the divine, in line with the divine. But what if the context for all that happens in life is that it leads us to this realization of who and what we are? What if circumstances that we may not consider to be positive or preferable are the actual ones that will break us open to know who we are? Anyone have any of those? Hello. Yeah. So there's a classic story, and if you've heard it before, please don't stop me. A man has a horse. You know this one. A man has a horse. He's a farmer, actually, and he has this nice horse. And one day the horse runs away. And so all of his friends and neighbors come around and go, oh, how unfortunate. What a stroke of bad luck. And the farmer says, hard to say. So the horse comes back after a couple of days with 3 other horses, beautiful horses, wild horses. And all the neighbors come around and say, what good fortune. And the farmer says, we'll see. So then his son is training these new horses. He's breaking them in. And he's thrown from one of the horses and he breaks his leg. And all the neighbors come around and they say, "Oh, how unfortunate." And he says, "We'll see." So then the army comes because they're conscripting all the able-bodied men to serve in the war that's just been declared. And they pass over his son because his son is got a broken leg. And all the neighbors come around and say, "How fortunate." And he says, "We'll see." We'll see. It's hard to withhold judgment when we have preferences, isn't it? We know what we like. We know what we want to happen. And we know what we don't want to happen. And the surface mind can just jump right in and just go, "Oh, that was bad, and this is good, and that's bad, and I want more of this, and I want less of this, and I want her to love me, and I don't want her to leave me." And do we know, if we hold the idea that our primary purpose in this life is to realize who and what we truly are, our spiritual identity, our spiritual reality, if that's the only thing, if we put that out front of our life, like, this is the priority, this is what I want more than anything else. Jesus put it this way: seek ye first and then all things shall be added. We want the all things added up front, don't we? I know you don't want to admit it. I don't want to admit it. I know. We know that. So if we can flip this, we can say, and you're going to have to ask for help. And guess where that help will come from? The very source, right? Because we have to sometimes stand, against the egoic mind that is just trying to get what it wants, right? And when we have that sort of voice in our head, then we have to be resolute in our commitment to saying, whatever would be best, whatever would lead me home to my divine source, that's what I'm down for. That's what I'm here for. That's what I say yes to. But we sometimes think of adversity in our lives is sort of a thief, it steals our joy. It steals what we want from life. Because we don't account for the fact that sometimes adversity takes something from our life. And when that thing is taken from our life, we actually can find ourselves stripped down to more essentially who and what we are. Has anyone experienced that? You lose something, you lose a job, you lose money, you lose bankruptcy, some hardship takes away something in your life that was precious to you, but then you realize that a big part of your identity was attached to that thing. And if we're looking for our original identity, our divine identity, who and what we are as children of God, then anything that would be standing in the way of that, anything that would be that's commandeered our identity, our true identity, by covering it over with a false identity, such as, I am my job, I am my money, I am my relationships, I'm Mr. This and I'm Mr. That, and I'm respected and I'm a leader and people look up to me. All of that stuff means nothing in the kingdom of God. It's all right to have those things as long as we don't forget who we are in the midst of taking on those roles. Does this sound familiar? Anyone relate to this? So I heard this story and I want to share it with you. I'm just going to read it because it's nicely said. Do you remember the book, many of you probably have read, The Untethered Soul? Yeah, by Michael Singer. So this is a story of the woman who lost her name. It's a true story. Her name is Sarah. And see if you can relate to this. She built her whole life around her career, her marriage, and her community identity. Anyone relate? Her name meant something to the people. It carried weight. But then came the unraveling. Her husband left. Her adult children grew distant. Her job downsized her, and then her health declined. She said, everything that told me who I was left. I was no one's wife, no one's boss, and not even strong anymore. At first, she collapsed into despair. We can relate, yeah? But then, something unexpected happened. Sitting alone on her porch, stripped bare of the roles that had once defined her, a question arose. Not from panic, but from a quiet clarity. This is why we need to get quiet. Even when there's raging thoughts and we're raging against life or God, feeling like life is against us, she got quiet and she asked the proverbial question, who am I now? Who am I now? Who am I if I'm not all these things that I used to be? In that silence, she realized she was still here. Still here. There was a presence, an awareness that never left, even as everything else did. The moment didn't solve her life, but it saved it. It didn't solve her life, but it saved her life. Because it was the beginning of a new knowing, not of what she did or what she had, but of what she was. What cannot be taken from us? What remains when all the identities fall away? That's the existential question that all of us must answer. That which can be taken away from you is not you. Who you are is invulnerable to the changes of life. Because who you are is a spiritual being, right? What does a spiritual being need to be whole? Does it need a job? Does it need a partner? Does it need money? No. Now you may say, yeah, but a human being needs all that, or needs most of that. But we got to get this right first. Jesus didn't say, when you get all these things, then seek the kingdom of God. The order is this: seek ye first to know who and what you are. Because when you, from a place of wholeness, do you tend to know how life looks and feels differently? When you're coming from a place of all is well, when you feel this essential well-being, then don't you just bring that energy into your life, into your relationships, into your work? Am I alone here? So there's another little metaphor that I don't think I've shared this with you before, but again, don't stop me because it's so good. Think of a mirror. Now, when you were a little child and you looked, let's just say this is one mirror that you have throughout your life, okay, same mirror. So you have this mirror. It's not a magic mirror, but in a way it kind of is, because you look at it when you're 5 years old and you see a reflection, And then you look at it when you're 10 years old and you see a reflection. Now, the reflection for that mirror is very different between 5 years old and 10 years old, yes? And then 15 and 20 and 21, all the way up to whatever age. And this mirror also reflects everything that's going on in the space in which, whatever the room it's in, right? And it wouldn't matter what was going on in the room, whether it was a wonderful love scene or whether it was some violence that was happening. This mirror would reflect that. But with all those changes that are reflected, is the mirror change? Does the mirror change? You can answer. I'm listening too. No. The mirror doesn't change. This is soul. This is the soul. That part of you that has like been in silent witness to all of the changes in your life. You know, when you were 5 years old and then you were 10 years old, and your body certainly changed and your circumstances changed, and there was a part of you that was present to all of those changes. But it didn't change. Wouldn't we want to get to know that? Because it isn't so much what happens in life, but how we respond to what happens in life that determines whether we suffer or not. I mean, if things changed and you just, well, great, thank you, then no problem, no suffering, right? Well, there's a part of us, and this is what we either call the soul, or we can call our true nature, or we can call our essence. It's what God created us to be, in its image and likeness. And the image and likeness of God is not a physical being. If we get that, then we can be situated and we can be present with life. And yeah, the mind is going to go crazy, but there's a part of us, a sanctuary that we can establish ourselves in, where that already accepts life and with all of its changes and all of its ups and downs, and is not diminished. It's not stained. It's not affected in any way, shape, or form, because it's what we are. Jesus said, do not judge by appearances. That's what he meant. Everything that can change is an appearance. And that which cannot change is what you are. I think I did this with you before. The 3 tests of reality, do you remember that? Doesn't matter if you do or not, we're going to do it again. 3 tests. So the first one, this sort of comes from philosophy. First test is, for something to be real, it cannot disappear. Cannot disappear. Okay? So the metaphor would be like if you had an ice cube and you said, this ice cube is real, and you threw it into water, it would what? Disappear. So we know the ice cube is not real. When you say, well, what is the reality of the ice cube? Well, it turns into water. So maybe the water is the reality of the ice cube. So then you put that to the test and you go, oh, wait a minute now, and the sun comes out and that water evaporates and becomes vapor. So now the water has disappeared, so that can't be its reality. What is the reality of the water when it turns into vapor? You say, well, it must be, well, what's the nature of the vapor? Well, what's in the water, what's in the ice, and what's in the water and the ice and the vapor? And there's a molecule. What's that molecule called? Come on. Starts with an H. Thank you. Got some scientists out here. H2O. So the H2O is the same in the water, it's the same in the ice, and it's the same in the vapor. And the last thing is, so it can't disappear, it can't change. We've covered those 2. And the third thing is, it must be known, it can only be known by itself. If it's known by something else, then it only has a relative reality. But if it only be known by itself, it doesn't change and it cannot disappear. What, in your experience, does not disappear, does not change, can only be known by itself. Our soul. The sense of I am is another way of saying it. Now, not I am this or I am that. I'm a body, I'm a girl, I'm a boy, I'm a dupa. Just I am. You know, many of us gone through identity crisis in our life, right? And we've been like, I don't know what I am, what I'm supposed to be, what I should do, and all that stuff. But have you ever doubted your existence? You may not know what you are, but you know that you are. That's enough. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Good. So I want to keep it brief today because we've got a meeting afterwards. So let's see if there's anything else I want to share with you. Yeah, I have a little poem here that I want to share with you, and then we'll go into a little meditation. Does that sound good? Can you stick around for another 5 minutes? Okay. I got to find my poem, though. Did someone take my poem? It's not. Well, if it disappeared, I guess not. Oh, it's so good, though. Okay, well, we'll just do something else. So, yeah, let's just do this. Let's just go into a little meditation, and we'll do some affirmations, and we'll really just ask you to do this one thing in this meditation, and that is give your mind the next 5 minutes off. See if you can just bring your awareness. If you're up here trying to think about, oh, what did he say, and what is it? I don't know if I agree, and just let that go. Just let it go, and just feel with your heart, and just see if any of this, how this lands to you as I point to this reality. So let's take however we get settled, whether we take a deep breath or we just let our shoulders drop. We just come into this moment with a recognition that this is our time to be with our divine source, to our God, or by whatever name or however we identify with the truth of us, the ultimate reality. Open your heart to that right now. Sometimes it helps just to breathe into your heart. And with each in-breath, you feel your heart expand. With each out-breath, some of the tension is released. And just feel the energy in your heart now. Just feel it growing just little by little. And it's radiating now this love, this peace, this profound acceptance of life, which is what the heart does for us so effortlessly. And just let that peace and that love just radiate out in all directions. It's like you have this light in the center of your being, like a lighthouse, and it's beaming out in every direction, and you just feel yourself full of this beautiful light. Jesus said, you are the light of the world. Let it shine. So in this beautiful space that we have co-created here, let's affirm. And let's ask ourselves this proverbial question that's been asked from time immemorial by all those who seek to know the truth of themselves. Who am I? And when we answer that question and we think of name and form and roles that we've carried, and the question is, who am I without those? Who am I without a job? Who am I without a title? Who am I without a name? What am I? I'm not what I've lost. I'm not what I've lost. I'm not who I've been. I'm not who I've been. I am the light that remains when all else falls away. I am the presence that cannot be taken, cannot be broken, cannot be diminished. I am what remains when anything that can be taken away is taken away. Whether the horse comes back, whether she returns, whether I gain fortune or whether I lose, I remain. This is your God self. Moses at the burning bush noticed that the bush burned unconsumed. And was told when he was seeking the name of God, I am. Tell them that I am has sent you. And the I am that I am and the I am that you are is one. This is what Jesus referred to as the single eye. If thy eye be single, the whole being will be filled with light. And so we sit for a moment, allowing this light to shine and illuminate all that we are and all that is. And in the radiance of this light, we find ourselves of one mind, of one heart, of one life, one light. And we bring this awareness back to this time and place now, to walk on this earth. Having touched heaven, we bring it to earth for all the good that we are.